we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along. Well, we flew through Cincinnati.
Well, welcome into Indiana Sports Beat with Corey O'Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club of the Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals on this Memorial Day. Jimmy sneaking one in there on us today. Thanks a lot for joining us. Todd O'Leary is with us as always. Coyle and Jimmy's at the wheel. Happy Memorial Day, first of all. All the veterans, our first responders, even the people in the health field now. But I know Memorial Day is about our veterans, and we don't think about that stuff enough. I really don't. Last night, watching the NASCAR race, Todd, during one of the deals, they had them come down pit road and stop. And in the middle of this race, and they stop everything, and they take 30 seconds of remembrance. And I got to tell you, it was pretty daggone cool to do that in the middle of a sporting event. And that 30 seconds, it seemed like 2 minutes. It was a solid minute, 30 seconds of just silence. And it's just, I don't think our veterans get enough for the freedoms that we get to do today, get to do this stuff. It's a blast. So thank you to everybody. If you know someone, thank them. We appreciate you all.
Yeah, without question. I mean, it's a sacrifice that, when we celebrate, it almost makes you feel guilty when we celebrate it, once or twice a year. It's one of those things. If there was a certain day of the month that was Memorial Day recognition for each month, we should do it every month, in my opinion. I mean, it can't possibly be enough, especially when you talk to families that have, I have a friend that has a son that was just not that long ago killed overseas, and it's just like it's every day for them. And yeah, it's not possible for us to thank them enough. That's for sure.
So thank you to everybody that allows all of us to do what we do. And we thank you and hope everybody gets to get out and enjoy. The weather's been pretty awesome. It did. The rain came last night, but other than that, it's been pretty fun. Nice this weekend. Going to be pretty good today. I think some storms coming through central Indiana later, but shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, been spotty showers, but man, you can't ask for a better. I mean, if you think yesterday was actually race day, I mean, being from Indianapolis, I can remember race days that it was 85 degrees, and I can remember race days when it was 35 degrees. So it's really a crapshoot when it comes to that. And yesterday would have to, it would have ranked up there for a 500 day. There would be a lot of sunburns, people with hangovers this morning.
That's right. But yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yesterday would have been the Indianapolis 500. Of course, the NASCAR Coke 600 went on as not. There have been guys, Todd, that have done both of those in the single day. That's 1,100 freaking miles of unbelievable racing. Because Indianapolis, of course, the cherry of all IndyCar racing, and of course Charlotte, that's the longest race, normal race of the year for everybody. 600 miles. And they actually last night went longer because they got to an overtime situation at the end of the race. So it was the longest race in history. But that's a lot of driving, man. 600 miles at 180 miles an hour, or the mental stress and all the G-forces and all that stuff. But can you imagine doing that twice in one day? And then two different styles. IndyCar racing, it's like being on the moon when you talk about these differences between these two. But to do that, get in a helicopter, be flown to Charlotte, then get into a stock car and drive 600 more miles. It's not like you got the worst of it out of the way. You just got the big one out of it, but now you got to go 600 more. Right. Yeah. And so, wow, it's crazy to think about.
Well, when you hear those race car drivers talk about, the strain and what happens to their body at the end of the race and all that, and then to think exactly what you're saying, then to jump on a helicopter, probably put an IV in to get some liquids and get off and do the same thing over again in the same day. Yeah. Some of those things, before I said that, I guess I should think, I don't know. Has anyone ever finished really highly in both of the races?
Top 10. I don't know. Yeah. I think that Kurt Busch, I think, had a top 10 Indy finish. I don't remember what he did at the NASCAR race, but he was a good NASCAR driver.
Drove in the NASCAR?
I think it was Kurt Busch that drove an IndyCar race one year, but I think Tony Stewart did it a couple of times. I think he did it like 3 times. But yeah, and then of course Unser, one of the Unsers did it, I think. But yeah, it's there have been guys top NASCAR that have thought about it, but it's that tough. First of all, you got to let your owners got to let you do that because that's a risk. First of all, just the race itself, but to not do that discipline, it was kind of like watching Tiger and Phil and those guys yesterday. Yeah, Phil said, "Yeah, that's great," or Tiger said, "Yeah, it's great having them out here, but you're not going to see me on the football field with these guys." But
yeah, that's not a fair trade-off.
Man, speaking of that, yesterday that was Tom Brady. He sure he was getting hammered on Twitter for a while, but he sucked to start the deal out.
He was all or nothing. His shots were either incredible and great or terrible, and he looked like he never played before.
How about that chip in, not chip in? It was how far was that? About 120, 40 out?
Yeah.
And he had some English on that thing.
Hold out from a ton. But with the rain, that adds to that a little bit. I mean, the fact that they played through that rain, I mean, I didn't give it enough appreciation because it was raining really hard, and you're watching them play in that, and you're like, all right. I mean, it's not that big a deal that they're doing that. But then later in the day, it started pouring down rain here, and I ran out to the car and came back in, and I was soaking wet, and I was like, I feel like I just accomplished something by going and doing that. These guys are playing 18 holes of golf in the middle of rain that was just that bad. So yeah, it was a tough weather situation, but it was fun to watch. Peyton was funny as always.
Did you know that Eli Manning joined Twitter yesterday?
Joined it yesterday?
Joined it during the match. And
then maybe I saw his first tweet then when he quoted Caddyshack.
No, Hoosiers. That was his introduction, was Hoosiers. He said, I don't know if it's going to make any difference, but I think it's time for me to start joining social media.
Really?
And he had a caption Jimmy Chitwood underneath of it. Yeah, That was his first tweet, but he quoted Hoosiers, and then he was just being a typical Manning, kind of funny. I didn't see him.
Yeah, he quoted the Caddyshack where he said, "I don't think the hard stuff's going to come down for a while."
Yeah, I saw that. And then there was something else he started giving him crap about somebody not showing up, or it was just funny to see him. And Barkley. Barkley was on there, and Barkley was giving Tom Brady a rash of crap right before he hits that 120, 140 out shot that he hit. And it's soon he's like, take that, Charles. It was funny to see those guys going back and forth. I mean, it was funny seeing Tom Brady, one of the most celebrated athletes of the last generation at least, but to see him struggle so mightily, and there was nothing that he or anybody could do hardly to help him because it's on national TV. I mean, I know exactly because I'm like, oh, God, I can't imagine me being up there because I do the same thing. I can hit a great shot or I can stick one behind me probably. It's crazy. But he was, normally you expect those guys to not kind of fold under the pressure. It seemed like he folded a little bit, but maybe not.
Yeah, he wasn't very good. And I'll just say this. A lot of times you can watch a guy swing and you can kind of determine whether, I mean, there are guys who trick you and they're better than what you would expect. But Tom Brady has a beautiful swing. I mean, his swing looks pure as can be. And I don't know, it's probably just repetition and stuff like that. But he's not very good. He's definitely not very consistent. You can say that.
I mean, it's a different type of deal, too. And there's no reason to think that maybe he wasn't a little nervous. You're on national TV.
Tony Romo had to be looking at this going, are you kidding me?
Oh, my, yeah. He's like, why'd they ask me? Yes. Right. He's like, why did they ask me? Well, I guess
I can answer that. Because you're not Peyton Manning or Tom Brady.
Because you didn't win. You didn't win a Super Bowl, much less 6 or whatever. But, yeah. But I guess, heck, they wanted a comedy show. They sure got one. I mean, and Manning was hilarious as always.
Manning makes the whole thing. I mean, it was. I didn't end up seeing what they. But did you see like they were auctioning off their golf cart? I mean, those golf carts.
Oh no, they did.
Cool. Oh, they auctioned off everything. They were auctioning off their golf course. By the time they got done, they raised $20 million.
I saw the final figure. I didn't know that. I missed that. But my God, that's all we were talking about half the time. Is how I was like, God, why can I have that golf cart? Leather captain's chairs looking thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, these things look like they were. They're $25,000 golf carts probably.
I saw Chipper Jones sent a tweet in the middle of the show yesterday and said, I don't care what the amount is. I'm buying a Tigers golf cart.
Oh,
So
I
I'm
wonder
sure
what they went for.
bidding on that stuff got up there.
Oh, I bet. And
They
Peyton's
might have
had.
been. You're right. They might have been $25,000 golf carts to start, but I bet they went for a lot more than that.
Daggone to it. Peyton's had the Colts on one side and the Broncos on the other. Tom's had TB12 on it. I didn't see what Phil's had on there, but he was kind of funny. Well, Phil's gotten in shape. I know what Phil's been doing to this coronavirus, buddy. I'm like, woo, look at Phil. We said the same thing.
Yeah.
Never seen him look like that.
Jessica couldn't take her eyes off of him. She was loving Phil yesterday.
I haven't seen Phil look like that maybe since he was a kid. I mean, and I'd have to go back and look at pictures because I don't remember him looking that. Man, he looks good and in shape.
Yep, totally agree. He was and the fact that he was talking and made some funny comments at the beginning, but he was also speaking the truth when he said, I mean, he's 3 weeks away from being senior tour eligible.
He's 49.
He's not going to play on it, but he's in for a few years, I'm sure. But
he would destroy them.
Oh my God!
It would become the Phil Mickelson show.
It would be.
And he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to be like. He's like, no. I'm. It's a competitive thing. He's like, no, I can still compete here. I don't need to go there. So yeah, he's maybe and we've seen Jack Nicklaus win the Masters when he was in his late 40s. That dude can still play golf. Today's a different day too. The technology changed. Yeah. The golf balls have changed. I mean, the courses are different, of course, but these guys are stronger. It's just so different.
Well, what you said is perfectly accurate. I can remember Phil from the time he was in college at Arizona State, and I honestly think he's in better shape today than he was then. Physically.
And he's smarter and just a better
wiser.
Soul.
He's got the old wise brain.
You daggone right, and that wins a lot of games, whatever it is. So, but that was fun watching that. I had a blast. It did. I was like, man, they're going to pick it up now. I'm like, I can't watch 18 holes.
Are we just going to spend the next 40 minutes talking about Justin Smith since we glided right through the first 20 without talking about it?
At least 20 of it. At least 20 of it. That's going to be the entire second segment. That's for sure. Just trying to get to that. But, Justin Smith is definitely going to be a topic of conversation today. And I'm still the timing. I think they already knew everything I'm understanding is this has been known for a little bit. But I'm like, all right, it's still kind of weird. But that tells me I'm thinking Hoosier fans are going to see a different brand of basketball next year. That what we heard about so much last year, this up tempo that never materialized even in a game. I don't think. I think that we may be getting towards that next year, especially with you got more guards in the lineup and less bigs, and I'm thinking there's a reason why Justin Smith may have decided bye. It's not there's no room for me at the end. No room for me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll discuss it in length after the break. I just don't want to get. If I get in the middle of a rant.
Yeah.
And I'm not. And my rant meaning I'm not mad at him. I'll get into it later. I'll get into it in a few minutes. But
I've seen where people said he quit on his, and it's just an absolute to even say that. That's it's a little surprising, or not surprising.
Yeah, I mean,
if
people wouldn't say the same thing about someone who chose to go to the NBA, then you shouldn't make that statement, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If he's eligible to stay there and play, and he chooses to go do something else, that's not always quitting on the other team.
No, he graduated too. So we're going to talk about a lot more when we come back. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals on this Memorial Day. Welcome, man. We're back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, powered by Rivals here on this Memorial Day. Go to thehoosier.com for complete coverage of Indiana athletics. You know, I talked a little bit about that NASCAR race last night, Todd, down in Charlotte, the long race. But in the early stages, Denny Hamlin, one of the racing's upper drivers as well, but he lost to something called tungsten, big weights out off the car. I think before the race even started, one of the guys hit it. But anyway, that's a 4-race suspension for his crew chief. Can you imagine? The crew chief is the guy who makes the calls and is involved in the setup. And then during the race, that's who you're talking. It's like, wow, he's suspended for 4 games. 4 races. That's a big time suspension, man.
Is it because of the safety issue?
Yeah, it's an automatic rule book thing. I don't know what it is, the reason for that coming off, but it's a specific thing. Tungsten coming off the car is a 4-race suspension. So I'm like, wow. I guess because this stuff is so heavy. It was a piece of it fell off, and the guy went out to pick it up, and you saw him reach down. He's like, oh, and he had to reach down with 2 hands and like cradle it.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's weird, the heavy weight. Yeah, just think of 4 races. That's substantial, especially now with how the season is. But just it's weird how they do stuff. But yeah, pretty tough.
I didn't even know that was a thing. But
yeah, we talked earlier. Justin Smith obviously left Indiana. He graduated 3 years. First of all, dude graduated from the Kelley School of Business in 3 years. Graduating from the Kelley School from itself is an achievement. 3 years.
We've talked about all along since he's been there. He's a smart kid and a great, nice kid. That there's nothing about this where you shouldn't be proud as an Indiana fan of the fact that he was a Hoosier for 3 years, and we cheered like heck for him, for 3 solid seasons. I mean, he's a guy I think everyone kept expecting kind of to have breakout seasons and moments. And to start last year, I mean, he was the leading scorer on the team. I know a lot of that has to do with the opponents they were playing, and he was just that much more athletic than everyone. But the fact that he's a student athlete and he graduated in 3 years, that is a major accomplishment, and I couldn't be more proud of him for that.
Yeah, and he didn't. There is something to the fact that he didn't come here to play for Archie Miller, and it's not about Archie Miller personally. It's Archie Miller and Tom Crean, definitely 2 completely different styles of play. And
well, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the case. Like, and this just gets you off to an unusual, I don't want to say bad, but it gets you off to an unusual start in your career. But wasn't he recruited by Crean, but never played for Crean?
Correct.
Like, wasn't he recruited? He came in that year, and then that summer he got fired.
I think that
and that is
yes, because I think Al Durham's in the same situation.
Yeah, and so there's not a lot of people that can speak to that being the case, and so I would just say, it probably puts you in a feeling of kind of being, I'll say a stepchild is probably the only way I can really, I can really compare it to and give a feeling of what it might be like, because, that's not the person who he signed up to play for. Now, it doesn't, I'm not trying to read anything extra into that other than to outright say, like, that's a weird situation. It's a different situation than what you signed up for. And exactly. So, but here's the thing. I hope Justin Smith has a 20-year NBA career. It would be awesome. I don't have any animosity towards him leaving and doing that. Now, I don't think it also makes me a bad person that if he goes somewhere like Purdue or any other Big Ten school where we're going to play against him, I'm probably going to root a little bit harder against him than I'd even do the whole rest of that team.
Natural.
Because I don't want him to come back and bite us. No, I don't want him leaving. I'm still going to support that situation for him. But and honestly, we can get into in a minute like how that affects Indiana as an overall team. But I don't have animosity towards Justin Smith for doing this. I mean, you can't be that big of a hypocrite as an Indiana fan and be that happy and excited about Joey Brunk and us being the beneficiary of the graduate transfer rule, and then turn around and the first time one of our kids does it, we throw a fit and act like a bunch of children and get mad about it. So I'm a little bit surprised. I guess a part of me is a little bit surprised that I'm learning this isn't news to the people within the program. I guess I'm a little bit surprised I didn't see it coming or think about it ahead of time. Demezy Anderson, we were checking the transfer portal daily, assuming because of playing time. I mean, playing time is the issue with him.
Which was non-existent for him.
And you talk about Justin Smith. I mean, there's so many questions that go through your head about what is he really looking for to finish out his career, because it's not playing time. Because no one on the team was going to play more minutes than he was next season. So that's where it just becomes a little bit more of a personal decision. And I think Indiana fans take it a little bit more personally.
Yeah, he wants to develop his game, and he wants to develop it in a way that he doesn't think is going to happen within Archie Miller's system. And again, I got no problem with that. He didn't sign up to play for him to begin with. It's a completely different system, but he stayed because he didn't want to transfer and lose a year. Well, now he stayed 3 years. He gave 3 years. He's completed his degree. Dude, let the man go. Let him do what he wants to do. And it's just, there's no way. Well, I do wish him well. I think that it will be kind of funny because there was a list of schools that have reached out to him already, which is substantial, like 24. But Purdue was one of them, Northwestern. I forget who the other big
Illinois and Maryland,
which makes sense because, well, first of all, Northwestern, we know that's a very, very intellectual school, and
that's where he's from.
Home, yeah,
right.
So I could see that, but then again, it ain't about education. Probably it's if it's truly about development and who's going to Northwestern to get developed for the NBA. No offense, but I mean, I'm just saying.
And that list wasn't his list. That was a list of schools that had reached out to him. So so that that makes sense, and you get it. And hey, if you're Northwestern, you probably reached out to 80% of the guys who are in the transfer portal. But anyone like Justin Smith, and he's from that area, so that all of that makes sense.
How about Purdue? How about Purdue reaching out to him?
Why wouldn't you? I mean, I would it have surprised us if IU reached out to Matt Harms? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't have me.
It would have me. I just
really.
I can't see the. I know we saw Dockich's son Andrew go from Michigan to Ohio State, which is I'm sure that didn't go over well up in Ann Arbor. I think that would have the same effect. Now you want to commit, Well, I don't think that would have been good for his. Yeah, Hoosier Nation is kind of big enough to where I don't know that that's one you want on your ass for the next 20 years of a career, because that may have come back to haunt him.
Well, obviously, I mean, look at so we have DJ Carton, who left Ohio State.
Different situation.
Where'd he end up? Marquette. He went to Marquette.
Yeah,
so I was trying to think. Oh, no. The kid from Wisconsin, Kobe Webster, I think was his name.
Where do you go to?
He goes from Wisconsin to Nebraska.
Nebraska, that's right.
Remember, so the interconference transferring is more of a thing, I guess, than it used to be.
It is, but I'm talking about the rivalry thing. You're talking about
Justin Smith's is different because his is not going to be about playing time. Because he won't get any more playing time anywhere else than he was going to get here at Indiana, because he was going to play a ton. And so
it's about getting to shoot the ball and do what he wants to do. Taking his 27% 3-point shooting. Well, who's going to want him shooting 3-pointers for him?
Well, so you and I talked about this, right after it happened. As soon as we get off the show on Friday, of course, that's when the announcement comes out. And we talked about it that day. And for Justin Smith's development, a school that would really make sense would be for him to follow Demezy Anderson and go to Loyola,
which would put him at home as well.
That puts him at home. He's playing. He's maybe not playing, or he's definitely not playing in front of, the TV audience that he's used to playing in front of. But stress. If it's actually the development of his game, that's a size school where he could dominate a lot more often than I'll say he could dominate in the Big Ten.
Bigger fish, smaller pond.
Yep, for sure. And that school has been very, very active in the transfer portals and situations. I mean, they've had a ton of kids come into there. There's been several other kids from Indiana that have gone, not Indiana University, the state of Indiana, as high school players that have gone there. So, I just hope that my first reaction was shock, which also made me a little bit embarrassed when I found out that it wasn't that shocking to everyone in the system, in the IU system. So that, that made me feel a little bit silly. But then after the initial shock of it was over, I don't hate it for this team. And I know, last year when Indiana would struggle and have games that were kind of unexplainable, how they didn't seem to play better. I can't say I coined the term, but I can say I used the term last year a lot of cool guys on IU. And believe me, I hope it comes across that I'm a Justin Smith supporter, because I am. And I want good things still for him to happen when he moves on and goes to whatever school he goes to. But he's the reason that I use the term cool guy a lot, because he just has that cool guy persona out there on the court. And that's something that I've never been a huge fan of, not just from him, from anyone. And I think that can tend to, especially when you're one of the older guys and is one of the older guys who plays the most amount of minutes, other younger guys that are coming in see that and they can either start developing in that way, or they can hopefully somehow get past it. And now without him being here, I can't name another cool guy on the team right now. And I'm pretty excited about that opportunity for Archie Miller and the rest of the guys coming in.
Funny you say that because I remember on Friday, I cannot remember who it was, but someone sent a text in that said, I guess Todd's going to have to retire the Cool Man logo now. They said that specifically. True. I remember that.
Yeah, and that is, I never really wanted to single out Justin Smith. I did single him out saying he is one of the cool guys, but I, he was the leader. He was cool in the gang. Like, he was the leader of the pack there. And he not having, with all of these freshmen coming in, this is kind of my point and how you can spin this into, you can turn a negative into a positive here, in that you really do not want these 4 guys who are coming in. You don't want their development stunted because of the way that someone on their team acts. One of the older guys, especially going to be a senior, the way that he comes across and portrays himself. And again, I'm a Justin Smith supporter. I don't necessarily like the way that he plays, but he's an Indiana Hoosier, and I will support him and be a fan of his forever because of that. But I wouldn't necessarily say he would be a fun player to coach.
Doesn't seem like it.
I mean, when you just watch him, and here's the
body language says a lot.
Here is an example, okay, and it's not the only example, because I know we can all have moments of we wish we could take back.
Absolutely.
But in the Minnesota game last year, when Trace Jackson Davis said to him in the game,
that sure has been brought up a lot.
You should dunk that, and his response to that is unacceptable. There's no excuse for it.
You know why Trace Jackson said it? Because everybody in the stands have been saying it for freaking 2-3 years.
Well, and it's the truth. Like, here's what you like about that. You know how you hear people say he's the coach on the floor? He's like, the coaches love him because he's like having another coach on the floor. Yeah. Do you know the words that came out of Trace Jackson Davis's mouth are exactly what all of the coaches would have said as well? So you get that personality there, and you get a young kid who's the best player on your team, who's rah-rah and telling you, he wasn't saying that like he was disappointed in Justin Smith. He was fired up going, dunk that S next time. And for you to have that response to him, I'll tell you, it took me a little while to forget about that, because that's not acceptable. When your team doesn't have, maximum, they're not loving each other the way they should. They don't have the Leo going on when you can say that to another player.
Exactly. You're dead on right. And I think a lot because of that, I've seen that mentioned a lot of times, whether it's on the Indiana Rivals fan boards, forum pages. Boy, lots of conversation that's stuck in a lot of people's minds, and it should, because for the very reason you just laid out, it shows right then. Deal. Thinking about them, it's like they're not thinking of the team, but it's you're right. The Leo thing, everybody can blow it, but there's truth to that. If you don't have that cohesion, you're not going to be together. It has to be a cohesive unit, no matter what you're doing. If not, you've got a chain is only as strong as its broken link. There's nothing more than truth to that, especially in basketball. You've only got 5 guys on the floor. You can't have one not being in sync with the others, or it just causes a wreck.
Well, and you're exactly right. But when you look at from the standpoint of here, what's got to happen throughout the season is somehow, by the time you get to the late February and March, you've got to have the coaches and the players kind of melding together and gelling all into one unit. But during the season, in the dog days of the season, when practices are long and hard, or you've had a tough loss, you've had whatever, the one unit that kind of always sticks together is the players. I mean, if the players are always, once the coaches walk out of the door and, you could have a manager stand there and lock the door and make sure nobody can come back in, you could sit there and say, as long as the players are all together as a unit, there's a bond to that you feel great about. You always feel like you've got, a band of brothers that we're always going to fight for each other. When you see something like that, you kind of wonder if that's not the case. That wasn't the case for Indiana as a team last year, because that's just not something that goes on. Like, I can tell you, if that happened, if he had said something like that to Calbert Chaney, I can tell you, even if he played 30 minutes a game, I can tell you from that minute on, he would have had some struggles. I mean, we would here's what would have happened. If we would have seen him say that to Calbert Chaney, we'd have probably punched him right in the mouth in the middle of the game.
Jamal Meeks is the first one that comes to my mind.
Yeah. Jamal would have choked him out. Jamal would have just choked him out and dragged him over to the sideline and swung him up on the bench and left him over there for a little while. Like it would have been. That's just not acceptable. Like
Which is what seems like what he needs once.
Totally agree. He needs to be on a team where there is someone who would not accept that. Because here's what something that you've got to understand is if he truly says he wants to make it to the NBA, and if that's his goal, which I don't know that it is, but I'm assuming he's put his name in the draft 2 years in a row. If he wants to play in the NBA, do you really think he's going to say that to someone sometime in the NBA? You think he's going to say that to Charles Oakley? Think he's going to say that to Scottie Pippen or one of those guys? Give me a break. So he's got some development to do on his own. And like I said, I still will wish the best for him. Now, if he plays at Purdue, I will root against him so hard, I can't even tell you.
Yeah, I really don't understand it's not for me to understand. Whatever. Hey, we're just going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about replacing that production, but I think it's going to be a different style.
Who can benefit this? Yeah.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary coming to you here on this Memorial Day, saluting our veterans. Thanks a lot for everybody who has fought for our country. We're back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. This is Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Indiana Sports Beat is now a part of the Rivals Network. You can go to thehoosier.com to sign up. It's free. Catch the show there each day live or at your convenience. You can also like or follow us on Facebook, follow the show's rebroadcast anywhere you podcast. If we're not on a radio station where you live, we should be. Let your local station know they need to carry Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary, or simply go to thehoosier.com.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Memorial Day. Todd Leary, Jimmy's at the wheel. We were talking about Justin Smith transferring out, Todd, and now they got to replace the production because you mentioned that nobody was going to play more minutes than he was because nobody was playing more minutes than he was last year hardly. So, yeah, that we know that to be true. One of the things we heard Archie talking about last season was tempo, never materialized, basically because he didn't have the personnel, I guess, to really run that, and this is part of that. And Christian Lander changes that a lot, I think, but the 3-guard, I think, is something we're going to see a lot more of, at least early on.
The lot of guard, I think we might be calling it before long, because it might be 4 guards from time to time. And when you've got these guys that when you've got guys that can shoot the ball the way all of the guys coming in can, it changes. When you talk about playing faster, here's what kind of, I think, a misconception is. That doesn't mean going down the floor and landing it. And that's kind of what you used to think of when we talk about fast break. You talk about, getting down the floor and getting layups. And that's not always the case. And where I think Indy struggled the most, and I said this after so many different games last year on our post-game show, that it's not scoring in the first 5 seconds. It's scoring in the first 12 to 15 seconds of the shot clock. Because once Indiana got under 7, 8 seconds on the shot clock, I would bet you that they were in the bottom 5% of all of the NCAA in scoring percentage. And so it's not just getting down the floor. It's getting down the floor before the defense can get set. And this team coming in, or this team next year with the guys coming in, have the personnel to be as fast as anyone in the Big Ten, faster than anyone in the Big Ten, as fast as most teams across the country. And they're not doing it with a bunch of guys that are going to be 5 feet 9 inches tall. They didn't have to go to a bunch of mites, for lack of a better term, use my Hoosiers reference. They didn't have to go to a bunch of guys that aren't big and athletic. They've got, Rob Finney is a good, strong guard. Of course, Christian Lander is thin right now, but Anthony Cowan, who was probably the best guard in the Big Ten last year, or one of 2, that guy doesn't weigh 170 pounds. He's no bigger than Christian Lander is. And so you don't have to be big and quick. It's a matter of how you play, your style of play. And I don't think Christian Lander will suffer at all. I think he'll be better as he gets older and puts on more muscle and weight, but I don't think it's going to hurt him next year. So you look at those guys, and then you've got the guys coming in, Anthony Leal. Now that Christian Lander's coming in, all of a sudden we've just kind of abandoned Mr. Basketball and talking about him and Trey Galloway. In my personal opinion, I think Trey Galloway may play more minutes than all of them. But when you look at these guys coming in, they're not short guys who, all of a sudden we're going to be dealing with a crazy small lineup. So it's a different team that it's going to be. We've mentioned now we think it's going to transition into all guards. And, last year when we started the season, Indiana was averaging, they were top 5 in the country and averaging 93 points a game and all that. We all know, I don't care if they average 193 points a game in the preseason next year. We all know once the Big Ten gets here, it's going to slow down. As long as they can make it so that they average closer to 80 points than 65 points, they'll be okay. That's as fast as you want to play. If you average 75 points in the Big Ten, you're going to win 3/4 of your games. And this team, the guys that are really going to replace Justin Smith, on paper, to us, it certainly looks like Race Thompson and Jerome Hunter are the 2 guys that are going to, I want to say, have to step up. But I was going to say,
who else you got?
Well, I think you look at them and you're going to look at it from the standpoint of they're the beneficiaries of this. Here's one thing I can tell you. So I don't like give out a ton of inside scoop. This is not an inside scoop thing. This is a pure observation thing. But I am, as a former player, I'm invited to come around, the practices and the team and the locker room. and that more often than just the average fan. But I am just an average fan most of the time. But here's something that I just wonder how it's going to play out, and I don't even have a good guess. But whenever I saw leaving practice or getting to practice or riding together or eating together or sitting at the table eating or hanging out together, it almost always was Race Thompson and Justin Smith were always together. And I wonder how this is going to impact that. Like I said earlier, obviously Race Thompson's probably known about this for a while because it seems like everybody else in the program knew it. I just, for some reason, it just slid right by me. But I just wonder how that can impact him. He's been in the program for quite a while. He's been with Justin Smith for quite a while. I don't know. I just wonder how this influences him mentally.
That's a good point. But I think he sees it as more of an opportunity because we've seen him continue to just after he got past that injury, he's continued. His minutes have continued. His play continued. He's a guy that you like seeing on the floor because he's trying hard every time he's out there. So, heck yeah, we want to see him but we also, Jerome Hunter is a guy that people have been hoping for, have been hearing about, and like, wow, okay, man, here you go. You had an entire year to get kind of past that stuff, and now, wow, your opportunities really open up. Can he take advantage of that? And if he can, maybe this is the best thing that could have happened to this team because it opens things up. We've seen that all the time. Wally Pipp played first base for the Yankees until Lou Gehrig took over. And what happened to Wally Pipp? The funny thing is he took a day off. Wally Pipp took a day off. It's one of the greatest stories ever. He took a day off one day from playing, and Lou Gehrig filled in for him that day. Well, we all know the rest of the story. He never came out of the lineup. So, opportunities.
Well, right off the heels of watching the Champions for Charity yesterday, I mean, Tom Brady is the almost exact same scenario. Who was the quarterback that got hurt that he ended up getting to come in for? I always know the story, and for some reason I can't think of the name.
From Washington State, daggone it. Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe is another Wally Pipp. I mean, it's a situation where if he doesn't get hurt, we may never see Tom Brady play. I mean, he may be stuck as a backup forever. And think about, just the way that's a perfect example of, things work out, the way that they should. And when you look at Jerome Hunter, I mean, you talked about this a minute ago, and this is where I think I'm just as excited for the development of Race Thompson as I am for Jerome Hunter. And I am for both of them. But here's the very first reaction. And believe me, Jim, I'm falling into this category too. My very first reaction when you and I talked about this on Friday was, oh, well, Jerome Hunter's got to be this is a good opportunity for Jerome Hunter. You want to know why he's the first one that goes through my mind? Because he was rated higher coming out of high school than Race Thompson was. Jerome Hunter was a 4-star. Race Thompson, I think, was a 3-star or maybe even a 2-star. And so in my mind, I let that influence me to think, okay, well, Jerome Hunter's the next best player then because, he was rated higher. And that's why I give these ratings a hard time all the time because in my own personal mind, this is a better opportunity for Race Thompson could fill these minutes, I think, easier to accomplish what Justin Smith would have accomplished than Jerome Hunter can. Now, Jerome Hunter could score much better, and we know how much they've struggled to score the ball at times last year. So I just think there's a lot of opportunities available. I think splitting these minutes, I said this, if you replayed our shows 2 weeks ago, you can remember me saying, we know for a fact Trace Jackson Davis is playing 30 to 32 minutes a game, and Justin Smith's playing 30 to 32 minutes a game. The other three positions are wide open, and I am including every other player on the team are wide open. Well, now we only know one guy that's playing 32 minutes a game, and beyond that, there's 4 positions that are wide open, and Jerome Hunter and Race Thompson. I mean, if you take back, you remember, you know how much I love comparing players, but you remember George Niang a few years ago for Iowa State. Race Thompson could be George Niang if he could develop a jump shot, and he's kind of got the same look, he's got the same build, they handle the ball about the same. If he could shoot the ball like George Niang, he could be one of the best 4 men in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and another thing, Archie's got 2 open schollies now. There is no way.
Yeah, you don't go through the year with two open ones.
It's usually unusual to do it with one more than he did it, 2 years in a row? But no way you do it with two. So I don't know if that's grad transfer, because that's difficult, especially Archie's trying to get this roster rotated into a way to finally where he wants it. And now a grad transfer, it could be a blessing or a curse, I think. You got to have the guy that fits in there.
Maybe we should reach out to Luka Garza and see if he wants to grad transfer over to Indiana for a year.
Yeah, that'd be right,
I'm just being facetious and saying people are plucking people out of other rosters in the same conference, and that just doesn't even settle well with me. Like, I don't even understand how that's a thing, but it is, and they obviously don't have any problem with it. So it's just me as the one that needs to get over it, because it doesn't appear. Well, I guess Matt Painter wasn't all that excited about Nogel Eastern when he left, but it's just weird how coaches, these coaches see each other. It used to be the thing. I guess I don't know why I'm surprised about it. They don't. Why would they care if another coach really liked him? Coach Knight never cared if anybody liked him or not.
Nope.
And he certainly didn't care about displaying the fact that he didn't like some people.
I agree. So, and it doesn't have to be a grad transfer. There's other I know that 2021 class is so deep, but you just can't wait till then, because look, they're kind of, and I talked about this a lot way, way back before this stuff happened, about how thin they were going to be in 21 down in the front court, just because of where they already were. Well, now that blows that up. Now they're really looking to be in a little bit of danger there. Not danger, but so that those are positions that have to be filled. And now better than later, because otherwise you're going to have a ton of freshmen at that time, and you really don't want to be playing with a ton of freshmen.
Well, and I truly believe, like, we all fall victim to this. We all fall victim to thinking that, we watched Race Thompson last year and we watched Jerome Hunter last year, and yes, no question, they were better than they were the year before, but they didn't really have breakout seasons. And that's kind of a cliche term, but it's also, it's really the best way to, I think, describe it. And this is the absolute perfect storm, perfect opportunity for a breakout season from not just one, but both of those guys. And can you imagine? Jim, just think about this. And this is not pie in the sky. This is not wishful thinking. There's a serious chance with the right development, if they got themselves developed to the right point, Jerome Hunter and Race Thompson could be the second and third best players on this team. And if they did that, can you imagine how good this team would be?
Oh,
with Trace Jackson Davis would benefit immensely from having someone else on the team that was playing at that level. Because him being the only guy, first of all, Trace Jackson Davis is not, with the skills that he had last year, he's not an extremely difficult player to take out of a game if you can only focus on him. And last year, that was the case a lot, because you could let everybody else shoot. Unless Devontae got hot, you could let the whole of the team shoot, and they weren't going to beat you. And if you could get some crazy development from Jerome Hunter and Race Thompson, Jim, I'm telling you, this team all of a sudden goes to a level of top 5 ranked in the country versus top 25 ranked in the country. And the new guys coming in, look, I am telling you, I'll just announce I don't know what I'm talking about if those guys don't have good years coming in, because they're the developing factors you need for kids coming in. They may not all be 6'11", but I couldn't be more excited about this 4 group of kids coming in.
Well, one thing you can say about every one of them to a man is they want to be in Bloomington.
They want to be an Indiana Hoosier, and they all play hard. Not having to coach, this sounds like sour grapes, but if you went back and listened to us talk in the past, you would know I've said this in the past. So I'm not saying it just because Justin Smith left. But from a coaching perspective, the worst thing you can ever have to do is coach effort. And if you don't have guys that automatically play hard, then you're fighting an uphill battle all year long. And I don't even want to have to single them out. I'm just going to say based on the roster that Indiana will have next year, you're not going to have to coach to effort. And I'm not sure Friday morning I would have made that statement.
That's a great final point. You're not going to have to coach effort. There's so much truth to that because so much can come from that. But, man, it's been a quick and easy, fun day for us here on Memorial Day.
Thanks for the Justin Smith news. You made it real easy for us to have something to talk about all day.
We didn't want to take we don't take holidays. Holidays, small days, man. We never take off. But we hope everyone has a great, enjoyable day today. And, of course, we're back tomorrow. Chronic Hoosier will be back with us. But, Todd, hope you go out and have a great day. Enjoy seeing your sons. Jimmy Johns, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. And for everybody else, all the vets, again, we thank you guys so much. I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the radio.